Well, today we're dealing with big-time heat. We're also dealing with the active tropics, including something in the Gulf of Mexico. Where is this headed, and will it affect us? We'll talk about that in your forecast. Right now on News Channel 6 at 4, a call for change. What local community leaders are trying to do to stop the violence.
And 3 people are behind bars in Richmond County accused of hurting 2 toddlers. We're breaking down the charges.
And an update on the effort to honor the late director of Augusta's Utilities Department. Your News at 4 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brad Means.
And I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thank you for joining us. Coverage you can count on begins in Augusta, where students at WJBF High School returned to class today.
And they were greeted with something some may not have expected. Ken Vickers has the story.
I was here early this morning and noticed that around the time that the faculty started to arrive, so did a lot of other adults, including Augusta's Mayor Garnett Johnson. They told me that they were there to pray for the students and staff as they returned to the scene of last week's shooting. Take a look.
When it happened, I was thinking about transferring because I was scared.
After last week's shooting at Josie High School, so many students like Michaela Booker were afraid to return to school Monday morning. But when they arrived, they found community members there to support them.
And just concerned individuals who today wanted to come out and to support our students at Josie, our educators at Josie, and to really just send a message that we are in unity with them and that we are praying for them for a successful and safe school year.
Dozens of area church members, business leaders, school leaders, and government leaders, including Augusta Mayor Garnett Johnson, showed up to pray and sing. As students started to arrive, the group cheered for them as they entered the school.
We want to encourage them and let them know that they are not standing alone, that we believe in the power of prayer.
Josie High School Alumni Association President Abe Gibbons graduated in 1967. He says alumni do their best to help students through the year by providing clothes, school supplies, and mentoring.
We reached out to let them know that we care, that they are loved, and that they are our most important product for the whole community.
Gibbons says Josie alumni show up for each other no matter what.
As you can see what this is,
Life member.
life, all right? So that means that I'm a life member, and these kids, they are our future. So we have to encourage them. We have to show them that we are behind them.
As for Booker, she says she isn't going to let fear stop her from finishing her education.
I'm going to go back because I don't want my senior year to get jeopardized because of an incident.
And once the final bell rang for Josie students, the group moved over to Murphy Middle School, where they welcomed those students back as well. In Augusta, Kim Vickers, WJBF News Channel 6.
A few community advocates wasted no time trying to bring change and stop school violence.
Yeah, they're going to put on a community forum tonight, not far from Josie High School. News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose joining us live at Purpose Center, where in just a few hours the public's going to meet Renetta, hopefully to come up with solutions.
Brad, these are parents in Richmond County, and they are holding this event here tonight in hopes of bringing change. Jamila Dukes called up a few like-minded people and said, let's do something, after a 16-year-old opened fire in the Josie cafeteria last week. Fellow mentors Ani Poe and Devron Mitchell agreed, and tonight they will help the public come up with solutions to bring school violence to an end. They will make sure people know their local city and school leaders and get to the bottom of the real issues.
To see that we're only 2 weeks into school and they're having the kind of issues that we're having in our community with our kids is letting me know that the problem is deeper than school. It's a community issue at this point.
Again, tonight's community forum will take place here at the Purpose Center, and it will be from 7:30 until 9 p.m. If you do not find parking at Purpose Center, there's additional overflow parking across the street at the church. Live in Augusta, Renetta Dubose, WJBF News Channel 6. Back to you.
All right, Renetta, thank you for that live report. An overnight drive-by shooting in Jefferson County leaves 5 people injured. It happened around 8 o'clock last night on Handy Street in Louisville. Neighbors reported hearing shots fired And when Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and Gold Cross arrived, they found 5 people injured. The Sheriff's Office tells us the victims were treated at the hospital and suffered non-life-threatening injuries.
I am still, scared, but I ain't gonna, this the first time this happened right here. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much this was like a real, common area, where it don't too much bad things happen right here. So, this is the first time this ever happened, you know what I'm saying? But it did scare me because, my grandbabies, they be there too, so.
Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the GBI are still searching for the suspect. Turning now to weather, a very...
Coming up in just a few minutes, Jenny Brett.
All right, Tim, thank you. 3 people are in jail tonight charged with child cruelty after investigators say a child was hospitalized in critical condition after ingesting narcotics. 41-year-old Matthew Moss, 34-year-old Talithia Brauman, and 31-year-old Aisha Bartley are facing drug and firearm possession charges. According to a sheriff's office report, paramedics were called to a home on Howard Road just after 6 o'clock Thursday night for a child being unresponsive from possibly ingesting narcotics. Paramedics gave the 3-year-old Narcan and took her to the hospital where she tested positive for fentanyl in her blood and urine. The remaining 3 children at the home were taken to the hospital, one with visible burns on his arms and back, and one who was drinking from a bottle with live maggots in it. One neighbor who was there says she's just happy those kids are getting some help.
My main concern was for the child that was unresponsive because I wanted her to get the help she needed. And it did kind of concern me when I saw the marks on the other baby of what might have been going on with it as well.
The 3 suspects are being held at the Webster Detention Center. The case remains under investigation. A couple of local men charged with sex trafficking in South Carolina learned their fate. 51-year-old Brian Watson from Blythewood and 29-year-old Ryan Grover from Barnwell, both sentenced to federal prison. According to court records, between 2016 and 2020, Watson trafficked at least 9 people, including 1 minor, and distributed drugs. Grover lived with Watson and transported the victims, negotiated with customers, and distributed drugs. He was sentenced to more than 3 years. Watson had more than 50 prior convictions. He'll serve 25 years.
A power company looking to put new transmission lines on a road in Aiken, and some neighbors aren't happy about it. The Central Power Electric Co-op has sent letters about this proposal to people on Old Dibble Road, a project that would impact several neighborhoods on that road and thousands of other people in the area. The company says it wants to put the lines in because of all the growth in Aiken, but neighbors say this is going to be devastating if it happens.
It would wipe out this particular route on Old Dibble. It would wipe out 250 years of history, and it would be impossible to ever get that back. Once it's gone forever.
There's going to be a meeting tomorrow night at USC Aiken at the Etheridge Center. State Senator Tom Young and State Representative Bill Taylor are going to be there to hear everybody's concerns. Well, the plan to rename an Augusta building for a late department director drags on. Today, a former Augusta commissioner reported to prison. Sammy Sias was convicted on 2 counts of destroying, altering, or falsifying records in a federal investigation, and he got 3 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. He's serving his time at a jail in Estill, South Carolina. A local councilwoman is running for...
Neighbors are helping neighbors through a campaign called Together We Stand. Tomorrow on Jenny, the United Way just finished the Big Stuff the Bus supply drive, and now it's on to the Capital fundraising campaign kickoff. But do you really know what the United Way does? Brittany Burnett, the woman in charge, gives us a snapshot on the core needs that the United Way helps meet and places where they fill in the gaps. What does that funding go toward?
So we recently kicked off our annual fundraising drive, and what I think is really important is most people, like you said, have heard of United Way, but they're not really sure what we do.
Right.
And so we really are always keeping our ear to the ground and our eyes open about the biggest needs and the biggest gaps in our community. So the funds that are given to United Way are helping fill those in 4 main areas of focus here in our community.
We'll learn more about how you can support the United Way of the CSRA, plus a look at a new app for pregnant and postpartum moms and the dangers of preeclampsia, especially for older moms. That's tomorrow at 12:30 on Jenny. Coming up, one Aiken man's commitment to service.
How Mike Jones is helping veterans. When News Channel 6 at 4 returns.
Fresh for everyone.
A man in Aiken is using his nonprofit to help his fellow veterans now.
News Channel 6's Brandon Dawson has the story.
In Aiken, South Carolina, Mike Speedy Jones is a veteran who's all about helping those in need.
I joined in 1987. I enlisted as a parachute rigger, so I went to Fort McClellan, Alabama, then off to jump school in Fort Lee to learn how to pack parachutes, and then off to Fort Bragg. I went to Desert Storm for a year. I came back, got out of the airborne status. I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
These days, Speedy spends his time helping other veterans with his nonprofit organization, Bikes for Vets.
Bikes for Vets is a charity that I started myself because one of my friends went to a local organization and needed help. The refrigerator went bad and had a baby, and he came to me just as a friend telling me the story, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll buy it myself.
Bikes for Vets has been going on now for 6 years, and 100% of the profits all go to veterans in need.
I buy the immediate things, like somebody who needs something right now, like a refrigerator, tires for a car. I put veterans in hotels for a couple of days to get them a shower. I bought a service dog.
Speedy doesn't like to seek a lot of attention, but because of his good deeds, recently he's been getting attention on social media and from people around the community.
I bought a car from a customer who wanted some interior work done on it. So I bought it and I was going to use it as just a daily driver. So I did some work on the interior, put some new tires on it and some brakes and made it dependable.
Speedy was able to donate the car to a veteran in need.
We arranged for them to come up here from Florida to get this car. So I give it to him.
The list of Speedy's charitable acts goes on for days.
I'm going to tell you something. If you don't do what I do, you're missing out on life. It's amazing.
Speedy Jones and Bikes for Vets are continuing to do good at their charity motorcycle ride.
It's September 9th, starting in North Augusta at Hoses. And so we'll ride around, and then at 5 o'clock we'll end up at post 10601 on Hudson Street in Aiken.
There will be plenty to do at Bikes for Vets fundraiser, but Speedy's just thankful for all the support he's received all these years.
I'm just one guy with a lot of people to help.
Brandon Dawson, WJBF News Channel 6.
The event will feature a motorcycle show, food, music, and more.
And for more information on Bikes for Vets, the fundraiser, just go to our website, WJBF.com. We are getting set for another really hot week.
Tim Miller with the forecast when News Channel 6 at 4 returns.
There's a big storm moving out of Southern California now, but leaving a mess behind.
Several communities are overwhelmed by historic rainfall. Tim Pulliam has the latest.
Despite heavy rain, flooding, and powerful winds, Southern California avoiding the brunt of Hillary's harm. With the storm now downgraded and headed north, Los Angeles leaders still warning residents to be careful.
The fact that it wasn't the catastrophe that had been anticipated, we are very happy about.
During the height of the storm, officials estimate more than 41,000 people were without power. Crews responding to more than 1,800 emergencies in nearly 100 traffic accidents in LA County. This video shows a road collapsing as vehicles drive by. Hillary washed away roads and caused dangerous mud flows. In Cathedral City, aerials show mud flows swallowing these vehicles. Neighbors in northern LA County forced to evacuate.
I told my girlfriend to get the kids, get my daughter, and get out. I mean, there was nothing we could do. I've never seen this ever before.
The first tropical storm to strike California in more than 25 years, making landfall Sunday evening near Baja California, Mexico. Hillary dumping record rainfall across the region.
Palm Springs area, just over 3 inches of rain, but that made it the wettest August day on record. And the rain's not over. You can still see that moisture streaming in up through parts of Nevada, into Utah, still in Arizona as well, and making their way to the Pacific Northwest.
In the middle of Hillary's wrath, a surprise 5.1 magnitude earthquake about 80 miles northwest of downtown Los Angeles.
Chief, I'm really sorry to interrupt you right now. Our studio is shaking right now, so not only are we dealing with a tropical storm, but it appears we're now dealing with an earthquake.
Experts say the storm had nothing to do with the quake. And there was no significant damage or injuries during the earthquake or storm. In Los Angeles, the second largest school district will reopen tomorrow. Tim Pulliam, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Did you like to fly kites when you were a kid?
Yeah, a lot of people love flying kites, and there's a man right now who's proving that some things just never get old. Stay with us.
Give us a call. All lines.
A frequent visitor to North Myrtle Beach has a collection of more than 80 kites.
Wide range of sizes, too. Some as small as 5 feet, some as big as 200 feet long. Dale Dove's been flying kites for about 30 years now. Says the first one he bought was an eagle, and from there he learned how to make their tails longer.
He's flown his kites all over the country, but says Myrtle Beach is his favorite place. Dale says watching his kites bring people joy is the best part of his hobby.
And there is a lot more coverage you can count on next on News Channel 6.
Including President Biden and First Lady meeting with survivors and first responders in Hawaii. These up after the break.
Well, it was a hot day today, and it's going to be hotter tomorrow. Viper 6 alert day posted for tomorrow. We'll be touching the sector market with a heat index pushing well above 100 degrees. A full look at your Viper 6 forecast is straight ahead.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 6, a drive-by shooting in Jefferson County. We'll hear from somebody living in the area.
Plus, 3 people arrested and charged with child cruelty. Will have the shocking details.
And the fight to rename Augusta's utilities building continues. Why there hasn't been a vote yet, as your News at 6 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jenny Montgomery.
I'm Brad Means. Thanks for joining us as coverage you can count on continues with a chance for the Richmond County community to weigh in on how to stop violence in schools.
News Channel 6's Renata Dubose gives us a preview of a community forum organized to help find solutions.
A group of parents put together this community forum that will be here at the Purpose Center in about an hour and a half. Jamila Dukes called up a few like-minded people and said, let's do something after a 16-year-old opened fire in the Josie cafeteria last week. Fellow mentors Ani Poe and Devin Mitchell agreed, and tonight they will help the public come up with solutions to bring school violence to an end. They will make sure people know their local city and school leaders and get to the bottom of the real issues.
To see that we're only 2 weeks into school and they're having this kind of the kind of issues that we're having in our community with our kids is letting me know that the problem is deeper than school. It's a community issue at this point.
Again, tonight's community forum will be from 7:30 until 9 p.m. here at the Purpose Center. Additional parking will be across the street at the church. We'll have much more tonight at 11 from Nikita Dennis. Live in Augusta, Renata Dubose, WJBF News Channel 6.
An overnight drive-by shooting in Jefferson County leaves 5 people injured. That investigation getting underway now as Tiffany Hobbs reports.
It happened around 8:20 Sunday night in Louisville. Neighbors say they heard shots fired just before going to bed.
I heard like 30 or 40 shots. I dived on the floor.
Tanika tells us the shots sounded like firecrackers going off outside her door. She says she got up to look out the window as soon as the shots stopped.
A lot of commotion. Yeah, it was loud. Like, everybody was running around, trying to gather children and, just getting out the way.
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and Gold Cross arrived at the scene where 5 people were injured. Tanika says it took them about 10 minutes to arrive.
I was just glad that they got here on time because it could have been worse, so.
All of the victims are being treated at the hospital for their injuries, but are expected to survive. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office and the GBI are still searching for the suspect. Tanika says her neighborhood is usually peaceful.
It's the first time this happened right here. You know what I'm saying? So, pretty much this was like a real, common area, where it doesn't too much bad things happen right here. So, this is the first time this ever happened. You know what I'm saying? But it did scare me. But I just hope everything was all right. I'm glad it wasn't me or none of mine. Mm-hmm.
Jefferson County Sheriff's Office tells us the motive for the shooting is unknown at this time. In Jefferson County, I'm Tiffany Hobbs, WJBF, News Channel 6.
It is time now for our first. It's Jenny Brown.
All right, Tim, thank you. 3 people are in jail tonight charged with child cruelty after investigators say a child was hospitalized in critical condition after ingesting narcotics. 41-year-old Matthew Moss, 34-year-old Talithia Browman, and 31-year-old Aisha Bartley also facing drug and firearm possession charges. According to a sheriff's office report, paramedics were called to a home on Howard Road just after 6 o'clock Thursday night for a child being unresponsive from possibly ingesting narcotics. Paramedics gave the 3-year-old Narcan, took her to the hospital where she tested positive for fentanyl in her blood and urine. 3 other children at the home were taken to the hospital, one with visible burns on his arms and back, and one who was drinking from a bottle with live maggots in it.
My main concern was for the child that was unresponsive because I wanted her to get the help she needed. And it did kind of concern me when I saw the marks on the other baby of what might have been going on with it as well.
The 3 suspects are being held at the Charles B. Webster Detention Center. The case remains under investigation.
It's been 3 years since Augusta leaders voted to begin